Well, hello to the First Baptist family and to the Friends of First Baptist. This is our midweek update for December 15th, 2021. This is our 321. And by the way, this is going to be our second to last midweek update of the year. We'll have one next week, and then that week after Christmas, we'll take that time off. So here are three things I want you to know, and I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but the two big giving opportunities right now are giving to our missions fund, which if you come in person, we have these little green and white envelopes. If you give online, there's a special selection you can make for our World Missions Fund, building compassion centers, funding missionaries around the planet. Our goal is $250,000. We give all that away. So remember that as you give. Also, Trav's Coats for Kids. This is not about you giving your resources, but giving your time. And we had the privilege of Travis Meyer being with us on Sunday morning and thanking those who served. And this is very important. We're going to bring in about 10,000 coats this year. Our goal is to distribute all of them. And so as you look between now and January 15th for an opportunity to serve, this is a wonderful opportunity to help provide coats for our community. So I'm kind of wrapping all that into one. Second thing I want you to know, Christmas Eve is coming up. We have two Christmas Eve gatherings at 4:15 and 6 o'clock. Now, only the 4:15 will have childcare for preschoolers. 6 o'clock will not. And so as you make your plans as a family, make that a priority of worship on Christmas Eve. It's one of our most beautiful worship gatherings of the year. And then finally, as you consider end-of-year giving, and I don't talk about giving a whole lot. Giving is both a duty and a privilege. And so as you look at your end-of-year giving, remember First Baptist, the ministries of this church, either our general budget or the missions offering. Look at that opportunity to give as we look toward the end of the year. So now here's the two chapters I would invite you to read this week. And when we do our last midweek update for the year next week, we're going to finish up Genesis. But I'm going to ask you to read Genesis 46 and 47. So this is, we've been looking at Joseph and all his brothers and how they've reconnected over the years. And this is Jacob, a.k.a. Israel, who is now going to go down to Egypt, all right? And there's a couple of things, reading chapter 46 and chapter 47, that I want you to look at. First of all, at the beginning of 46, and this is a really good personal note, God appears to Jacob and says, I will be with you in Egypt. So in the ancient world, it was believed that a god was kind of confined to the borders of that particular nation. Every nation had their own god, and these gods were over that territory and no other. So God is going against ancient understanding of deities. And he says, even if you go to Egypt, I'm going to be with you. You know, sometimes we think that in our troubles that God's not there with us. I think just the opposite is true. We might not be able to sense his presence. But believe me on this, when God promises many times, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you, just because our awareness is lacking does not mean that God is not present. Even Jesus in the garden, you know, as he agonizes on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? God was there, but Jesus was just not, he couldn't be aware of God's presence because he was so overcome with grief. So I say that for those of you who are going through difficult times and you wonder where God is. He is with you in Egypt, just as he was with Jacob, just as he has been with Christians for centuries. Okay, so just because our awareness is lacking does not change the reality that God is present with us. Then in chapter 46, there's a long rundown of the lineage. For Jewish people especially, lineage was very important. And we're given the total number of Israelites, of Jews, of Israel, who starts out in Egypt, 70 in total. And from there, God would take those 70 people and in the incubator of 400 years build a nation. And so God, even when it seems like nothing is happening, a lot is happening. Okay, so God would build a nation to be prepared to be delivered under the leadership of Moses. So as we go into verse 47, there's also another single verse I want you to look at. It's verse 9. As Jacob describes his life, he calls it a pilgrimage. Now, I love that word. And in fact, several years ago on a sabbatical, all summer long I kept coming across this word pilgrimage. And I was traveling through Europe, and I was going to several pilgrim sites. And it dawned on me, what's the difference between a tourist and a pilgrim? A tourist is there to see the sights. A pilgrim is at a certain place to meet with God. And so to think about how we live our lives, are we living our lives just as tourists? Are we just collecting experiences and seeing what we can see? Or is our life meant to be a pilgrimage that we move with and toward God every single day of our lives? I want you to consider that life is more than just about having a good time here and there, and all that is good too. But our goal is to grow closer and to see God in every moment of our lives. Then as you get to the end of chapter 47, you see the famine increasing and how people sell everything. And pretty much the state, Egypt, at the end of this famine, they own everything from money to livestock to land, and we're given a little bit of a cultural glimpse there into pretty much at the end of the famine, everyone was owned by the state. And this would set up the issue of slavery in Egypt. This would be one of the contributing factors of how the Jews ended up being slaves in the land of Egypt, which would then, of course, bring us to the place of deliverance through Moses. And so we'll pick up on that after the year. We're going to step into Exodus, but we have one more reading to do next week in Genesis. So read Genesis 47, 48. Consider your own pilgrimage with God and how you're encountering Him these days. So here's the one way I want to ask you to pray as we come close to our Christmas Eve service. This is one of our most beautiful services of the year, and a lot of people will come into a Christmas Eve service that may not come in any other time of the year. And so to pray for the opportunity to the gospel, that the gospel would be clearly presented and clearly understood. And I'm using the word nudge. Maybe some people just need a little nudge in the direction of Christ these days. And let's pray for that to happen during our Christmas Eve season. Love you guys. Love serving as your pastor. We'll do one more update next week, and that will be our last one for the year. Until then, may the Lord bless you. Bye-bye.